On this episode, we're going to be discussing Charlie Angus and how he has completely gone off the deep end, making demands of the federal government through the petition system. We're going to talk about the Liberal Party and their underhanded ploy to remove anyone that might be a threat to the establishment insiders that are currently trying to run the Liberal Party. I'm going to do a few shout outs to people that have given me super thanks, that and more. Welcome to the Canadian Shield. My name's Sterling. I'm your host. I know I promised all of you that I would start streaming, and I am trying to get to it. Sometimes the real world's getting in the way, and sometimes I'm just not 100% sure how I can stream without getting the OBS. So I have to then get OBS and learn how to use it. However, there are a lot of people that give me super thanks for different things that I post, and I thought to myself, well, if that was a shout out, like if that was a live stream, then I would shout them out. So I'm going to start shouting them out in my in videos whenever it randomly takes me, and I'm going to start with the few that we see that I got here today. So I'll just jump right into it. I got no particular order. Sean Cameron 3950 gave $5 and says thanks. I say thanks back. Appreciate that. Miss Zed gave $5 and said thanks Sterling. I thank you. Catherine Young 28 gave $2, said thanks, and again I thank you. And Cindy Wilson 2739 gave $6.99, said thank you, and I want to give a special shout out to Cindy because she's a big supporter of mine. Okay, so we'll start with some of the funnier aspects of the Liberal Party. I think it exposes the Liberal Party for who they really are. There's an MP from Brampton, Springdale, I believe her riding is. Her name is Ruby Dhalla, and she was running to be leader of the Liberal Party, and there was, she was going to go up on stage. And up to yesterday, the only thing that you heard is that she couldn't speak very well in French. And I suppose that would have cost them a little bit of trouble in Quebec, but she could have learned that language. Then she found out live on CBC that they had canceled her, they had kicked her out of the leadership race. They didn't tell her, but they told the CBC. You can't even make up the level of unprofessional that is. I mean, that's just off the charts. You don't take her in your mind. That doesn't embarrass your whole entire party that you just all of a sudden arbitrarily announced to your media outlet, right? The CBC. At the same time, they'll try to say, "Oh no, we don't favor the CBC," and yet you announced to the world that this lady wasn't going to be part of the Liberal leadership race anymore through the CBC. I mean, you can't ever try to deny again that you're not using the CBC as an extension, as a media arm extension of the Liberal Party.
Well, I think it speaks to the state of the Liberal Party of Canada that a candidate who is running to become leader of the party, who is running to become prime minister in our country, is finding out that she has been disqualified on air from an email that the media outlet that she is interviewing with has received. So it is very alarming and very shocking. It is certainly not surprising because I think the Liberal Party of Canada was seeing exactly what our internal polls are telling us, that my campaign and my team, we were neck to neck with a front runner in the race. They did not want me to go on to that debate stage in Montreal. They certainly did not want me on that ballot. And the Liberal Party of Canada wanted to complete the coronation of Mark Carney.
I got to be honest with you. I think I agree with her. The Liberal, their own statement was, oh, well, we have some allegations of foreign interference. They didn't have any problem with the allegation of foreign interference when the entire House of Commons was accused of it, or when the CSIS guy went on Northern Perspective and said there's probably 50 examples of it. It doesn't seem to bother them. But all of a sudden, this woman who was articulate and educated and business-minded, who was not an insider for the Liberal Party, who was not a member of the WEF, starts to take a big lion's share. Now she runs in Brampton. Without Toronto, the Liberal government has no seats. Like, remember, the demographics for the Liberal are primarily based in Quebec and Ontario, and only in Toronto when it comes to Ontario. Most of the province of Ontario, like outside of the city of Toronto, they vote blue. They vote for the Conservatives. The city itself goes heavily Liberal, and that is what gave them the minority government that they currently possess. So this woman would absolutely take a lion's share of the people that might be voting from one of the strong bases for the Liberal Party. I mean, I'm sure they say that they got 400,000 people to sign up to vote, for the leadership race in the Liberal Party. And I'll show you some of the jokes people are saying about that. But let's just realize that they didn't get any of those people in the city of Edmonton or Calgary, right? Those people that signed up are probably going to be from Toronto. In the lion's share of the Liberal seats that are currently in the House of Commons right now are from Toronto. So this woman was absolutely a threat to what they were perceiving to be their coronation of Mark Carney.
But when it comes to running for prime minister, I came into this race to ensure that our party starts talking about progressive policy ideas that are actually the need of the hour in our country, whether it was on the economy or housing or the increase in crime rates. I wanted to ensure that we had policies that spoke to Canadians, that spoke to the challenges they are facing. And as you said, I was the only candidate that was not a part of the current administration. And that is why I presented my progressive policy ideas throughout this campaign. And yes, I was aggressive in campaigning because I wanted to ensure that the voters would actually have a very clear choice about the type of leadership that they wanted for our party.
Now, for those of you paying attention at home, that absolutely was her on Rebel News talking to Ezra Levant. And I am just so happy to see the Liberal Party talking to some independent media. I think that it indicates a shift in the cultural norms of our society. I believe that it indicates a complete turn from, like, when the politicians start to notice it, the people have already come along, right? And I just think that it's really great. Next, she should go on, all of the independent media. Now, the thing that you notice about her right out of the gate is that she speaks with articulation and she doesn't speak with a lot of, she answers the question that she's asked. And she seems to be quite forthright with her answers, which, makes her really conservative. And I don't understand why people that come from what they call the South Asian community vote Liberal anyway. Like, I think that they just do it because that's like what their brother or cousin or whatever does. But when you talk to them, when you get to know them, they are completely conservative by nature. Like they believe in getting the job done. They believe in getting making the profit. They believe in taking accountability. They love business, and for some reason they get to Canada and all of a sudden they completely flip to the other side of the coin. Now, I say that because Ezra Levant has got a petition running asking the Conservative Party to let Miss Dhalla walk the floor. Now, I think she should walk the floor simply based on her approach. The Conservative Party has all of the strong, capable, competent women in it. Now, they don't have all of the women in it that are, screaming at the top of their lungs that they're the victim. No, they don't have a lot of those. But they do have women who are articulate and who can think their way through a problem, who are not afraid to confront you. They have a lot of, actually strong females. And I don't understand why everybody doesn't support them in that respect. Like, I just don't get why people believe that somehow the Liberal Party, the Marxist Party of Canada, is going to somehow be the solution to their problems, when what is required is people that know how to balance a budget, know how to make money, and know how to stand up for themselves. Now we'll move over to Charlie Angus, the NDP MP, who is becoming completely unhinged. You'll remember I did a video on him a little while ago about how he was holding up a turkey feather and calling for everybody to stand in resistance to the United States. Well, it hasn't let up, even though it's not getting that much traction. So it's going all over the internet right now, all over X, and I just picked up one randomly from Stuart Benson, who's a reporter for the Hill Times. The NDP MP Charlie Angus has introduced a petition to the Prime Minister calling for him to revoke Elon Musk's dual citizenship status and revoke his Canadian passport effective immediately. Now, my first response was, this got to be a joke. Like, this, you can't be serious that we have a sitting member of parliament who's going to demand that we remove the censorship of somebody because he doesn't like him, right? For what other reason does he have? It's not like he's one of these guys who was planning a terrorist attack in downtown Toronto or got arrested for trying to do it in New York or something. This is a guy who just simply doesn't agree. He just simply doesn't agree with him, and now he wants him. He wants all of his Canadian citizenship stripped and revoked and removed, and all the while trying to tell you that it's got to be Canada who takes on the United States. So then I thought to myself, there's no way. Well, I go over to the House of Commons and I have a look, and you can search for petitions under a couple of things, but every petition needs a member of parliament to bring it into the House to read it out loud. Even if it is the member of parliament that's putting it forward, they still need a member of parliament to go into the House of Commons and read it verbally into the record. So I Googled or I searched for Charlie Angus on the ourcommons.ca website. I'll leave a link to the House of Commons website because I believe in the petitioning system. But that's not for this video. Anyway, so there's 11 of them, but there's 4 of them that are pretty active. I find that are really funny, that pertain to the subject that we're talking about. Canada-U.S. Relations Bill, petition E5345, where he opened it in February, and he wants Donald Trump to be listed as persona non grata, meaning he wants the sitting president of the United States to be barred from entering the country like he was Saddam Hussein or something. E5353, he wants Elon Musk revocation and resumption of citizenship. So he wants to, not only does he want to take away his citizenship, he wants him to never have it ever again. That one's open until June of this year, which is pretty interesting. Then there's another one, federal government on information dissemination social network sites, X Corporation. Or just from reading that, I'm going to assume that he wants X to be banned in Canada, though it's on X that he's putting all his stuff out. I mean, he's on X, posting all this stuff, and then screaming that Elon Musk should be barred from, should have his citizenship stripped, right? Because I don't know why. Because he doesn't like him. Because he doesn't agree with his politics. And anyway, and then the next one goes on E6370, where he wants electoral candidate nomination, federal government information dissemination, private sector social networking sites, where he's trying to get the Elon Musk to surrender his algorithm so he can find out whether or not Elon Musk has a particular political slant. The same guy who's standing on the, who's helping Donald Trump for the Republican Party. He wants to know if he has a particular political slant embedded in his algorithm. This is Charlie Angus, the guy who, when Twitter was owned by the far left, when the FBI was putting people into the algorithm, he said it was fine. This is Charlie Angus, the guy who wants to put you in prison if you say out loud that oil and gas is good for the economy or good in any way, shape, or form. He introduced a bill asking for that. This is Charlie Angus, the man who loves censorship, who's on the platform of X screaming that the owner of X should be put in prison or should have his his citizenship stripped. And I'm not sure for what his reasoning is. Like, from what I've heard of him say, he just doesn't like the fact that Elon Musk has a freedom of speech approach that he doesn't have, that Charlie Angus can't control. Like, I think that Charlie Angus is just, I think Elon Musk lives rent free in his mind, right? Where he just can't stand the idea that he would be allowed to do anything that Charlie Angus didn't specifically pre-approve. Those are telling examples of the current political system in Canada. And people are going to see that around the world, and they are just going to have nothing but disdain and contempt for Canada. If you're a young person out there and you're thinking in your mind, yeah, but it would be different for me, you're wrong. They will come after you just the same if they find that you get in the way of the establishment, of the elites that run the show. And they're not looking for what's best for the Liberal Party. In the case of that Dhalla lady, they just want Mark Carney to be in charge. So why did they even bother? Why did they even bother with the charade? Because then they're going to try to convince you that you still have a chance, but you don't. He's an establishment. He's an insider. He'll say in one breath that he's an outsider, yet he's worked on 7 of their budgets. He's in there. He goes to their barbecues. He's, snuggles up close to them. And he gets a lot of support from foreign influence. Charlie Angus, I think, is just struggling to stay relevant. The whole NDP party seems to either be going silent or to be going all kinds of crazy. And then into that, we have the Liberal Party and their leadership, and they're trying to tell you that you can sign up to be a member of the leadership party. It doesn't cost you anything. All you got to do is follow this logo. Go to liberalparty.ca on how to vote. And that's all you got to do, and they'll tell you how to get started. They're running this while they, throw out all of the people who might be a threat to the current establishment, entrenched insider Mark Carney, right? And they want you to think that somehow they're going to take advantage of your naivete. They're going to take advantage of your youthful exuberance, because there's nobody that's paying attention that is going to be supporting the Liberal Party with all of the tactics, all of the maneuvers, and all of the destruction that they have caused to people's bank books. But some of the things that the people are saying are just worth watching, right? Like Brad here says, you guys ever stick your necks out by framing leadership candidates and then use state-funded media to ambush them on air? That's election interference. And you put it on TV for the whole country to see. Yeah, that's going to go all over the place, you know? And I mean, some of the subject matter that like this one here is from, you got very quiet on human trafficking, which is something that we should be discussing. And then here you can see Son of Seabass. He's making a joke of Justin Trudeau. I'm a proud feminist, Justin Trudeau. It's funny because every time an actual strong, independent female gets close to the top in the Liberal Party, they throw her out. Every single time they come across anybody who's a female but also independent and also has a wherewithal to stand her ground, they toss her out. They never do that in the Conservative Party, though. So if you're out there and you're one of these women and you're thinking to yourself, where do I belong? You belong in the Conservative Party, because the Conservative Party is the party that's going to make sure you got money in your pocket to pay for all the independence that you're ever going to want. Now this guy here puts, the Parliament Project. If you want to understand the level of support Canadians have for Justin Trudeau, read the comments on any social media post he makes. He and his party have no support. They are considered hated traitors. Liberal Party logo, sunny ways. I mean, that's pretty interesting. Like, I sometimes in my head, I think to myself, man, I wish I could make those kinds of AI pictures. I can start practicing on that. This one, this one here is funny, right? Just registered to vote for Mark Carney, and it's a cat with a little Liberal tag on. That's great. I think that's really... What a burn. That is great. And the Liberal Party is always talking about how inclusive they are. And yet when you look at their front bench versus the Conservative front bench, for example, it's quite a stark contrast. But I just wanted to show you how the Liberal Party is on X, right? Screaming that Elon should not be allowed to do whatever it is Elon does, and get Chrystia Freeland saying we should ban Teslas, and all of these people are, losing their minds, but they're on the most popular platform demanding that the most popular platform be shut down because it might be, giving them the ludicrousness of it. Shouldn't they all be on Sky Blue? Shouldn't they all be telling themselves that I'm on Facebook? I mean, don't they all have a deal hammered out with all of these other platforms? How come it is that they're on X? How come it is that they're over here talking about their different politics and their different things? And I'll tell you why they're over here, because this is the platform that people are interested in. Why are they interested in it? Not because they got a thing for Elon Musk, not because they got a thing for Teslas, but they do like to know that they can speak their mind. They do want to have free speech. They absolutely want that. It's a tenement of, it's a core. It's a thing that every person is looking for. And I know you get a lot of people on here and they'll try to exploit it and scream, and like Charlie Angus, the second you shut him down, he'd be like, oh, you couldn't handle it. I'm blah, 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 all the while screaming for, Elon Musk to be burned in effigy and all the rest of it. But the idea that you can, in one breath, demand that I'm not allowed to say a bunch of stuff because of under Bill C-18 and C-11 and all that, and then at the same time be utilizing all of the things that give people absolute freedom of speech, there's something in there that doesn't add up. There's all kinds in there that's not meshing, right? And that just goes part and parcel along with the whole leadership fiasco of where they're getting rid of all of the people that might be a threat to Mark Carney. Mark Carney, who cannot keep his sentences straight from who he's saying whatever to. Mark Carney is going to be much worse for this country, even if he is only the prime minister for a short span. I can't imagine the kind of destruction that person is going to be able to rot on this country if he gets his hands on the stamp, the seal, and the pen. I mean, he can't tell one story he can't tell you honestly from one province to the next. And he can't say a single thing without reading it off a teleprompter. So if you can't read it off a teleprompter, then you're not necessarily fully supporting of what your words are. That means your message is crafted. that you're not feeling that way, that you're just going through whatever was written down by your speechwriters. Anyway, I'll cover that one later. Right now, I just want to remind you to be smart with your vote. I'm going to wrap here. I want to thank you for listening. I'll talk to you next time.